Hi, we are back again with another Prelims Power Player environment related video, and in today's topic we'll be discussing Coral Reef Breakthrough Initiative. We will also see an enzyme that was recently found in order to handle plastic pollutions, and also a few species that were in use. So we'll start with corals. We all know corals are animals who are in symbiotic relationship with algae called as zooxanthellae. And these corals, they have very particular conditions. Particular conditions in the sense they'll be very confined to a certain conditions, and if these conditions are hampered or hurdled, they will start losing their life. One thing, a particular thing called as coral bleaching will start, and then at the end of the coral bleaching event, all corals will die. So, what are these conditions? These conditions, the basic conditions, there are a lot of conditions, but the basic three conditions are they live in warm waters, they live in mud-free waters, and they live in shallow waters. Yes, there are corals that live deep in the ocean also, deep water bodies also, corals have been found. But talking about general shallow water corals, these are the basic criteria. But if these criteria are hampered, something called as coral bleaching happens, and the corals, they are affected a lot. We can also lose a lot of colonies of corals. That is one big possibility. And given the amount of pollution that we put in today, that we emit today, the corals have been one species. A lot of species have been suffering, but coral is also one major species that has been suffering a lot due to the man-made pollution that has been occurring in the world. Recent reports suggest that around 14% of the world's corals, especially shallow water corals, have been lost since 2009. So this is what happening, and there are a lot of initiatives. India has brought a few initiatives. There is this technology that India has been working with, known as the BioRock technology, to handle, to replenish the coral colonies. But there are also other global things also that have been brought to safeguard corals. And in the line, a new initiative has been brought, known as the Coral Reef Breakthrough Initiative, in order to save corals. Who has brought this? The International Coral Reef Initiative, in partnership with Global Fund for Corals and high-level climate champions, has brought such an initiative. So what does this initiative try to do? The initiative tries to save, at least prevent the extension of 125,000 square kilometers of coral colonies in the world. So this is the major target that the initiative has set for itself, and it has a lot of ways and means through which this can be achieved. For example, it tries to mitigate the local drivers that drive coral bleaching or extinction events, such as there are a lot of reasons such as epizootics, the temperature changes, the amount of salinity in the water, and we have xenobiotics. There are a lot of other things that can affect a coral reef systems and coral colonies. So this is what the initiative tries to do. It tries to mitigate the local drivers that push this extinction events, and also it tries to bring resilient oriented coral conservation. So it tries to increase the resilience of corals in order to conserve them. This is one thing that it is doing, and also it tries to secure investments for research and development and conservation of corals. These are the three action plans through which the initiative tries to save the coral populations. So this is how this is, and now we will discuss what is the International Coral Reef Initiative. The International Coral Reef Initiative was launched in 1990s by a few countries, but today it has launched. Around 101 countries are part of the International Coral Reef Initiative. But when it was started, only a few countries such as Australia, France, Jamaica, Japan, Sweden, UK, USA, Philippines were a part of this particular grouping, that is the International Coral Reef Initiative. And today, 101 countries are a part of this International Coral Reef Initiative, and India is also a member in this Coral Reef Initiative. And what this tries to do is that, again, the same target for International Coral Reef Initiative also tries to safeguard 125,000 square kilometers of corals from extinction. When coming to India's corals, where can you find corals in India? Does India have corals? Yes, India has corals. Indian corals can be found in the coast, especially in the southern coast and also near the Gujarat coast. Gujarat coast, you can find corals, and also you can, in fact, the BioRock technology that India has been working with in order to boost coral population has been, for the first time, it was done in Rann of Kutch, Gulf of Kutch, yes, in Gulf of Kutch. And then on the southern side, you can see near Tamil Nadu, we can see near Andaman and Nicobar, you can have coral, you can see corals. In fact, a lot of corals have formed these islands also. Coral islands have been there in Andaman and Nicobar. And Lakshadweep also has a lot of corals. In India, you can find corals in all these places. Yes, and also we'll now discuss about the Global Fund for Corals. What is this Global Fund for Corals? So this Global Fund for Corals was launched in the 75th Summit of the United Nations General Assembly, and this is the only fund. The fund's corpus is 625 million US dollars, and this is the only global fund for safeguarding of corals, and it's the only UN-based fund in order to achieve SDG 14. SDG 14 talks about life under Earth. So that is what the Global Fund for Coral is, and we also discussed about the International Coral Reef Initiative. Yes. Moving on to the next topic, we have something called as PET 46. Yes, plastics, we all know plastics have been the nightmare of the recent centuries, the 20th and the 21st century to be exact. Plastics have been one of the major drawbacks or major developmental hassle that we have. Yes, there are also developmental economy oriented things with plastic, but when it comes to environment, plastic is one nasty thing that has to be removed. And there are a lot of other mechanisms to remove plastics, but today in recent times a lot of enzymes, a lot of natural based or nature based enzymes have been developed in order to handle or degrade these plastics, and in such a line a new enzyme called as the PET 46 has been released. The PET 46, that is the polyethylene terephthalate 46. Though this has been developed or this has been produced from marine organisms. Yes, there have been other PET eating enzymes that have been produced from lower organisms, but this is the first time that enzyme to eat plastics, especially PET plastics, that is PET bottles, PET plastics, have been derived from the marine organisms. And this can be used. How is this used? Is that it slowly eats the plastic polymers, and it breaks down these polymers into small pieces. And one thing to be noted is that this particular PET 46, it works well with both long chain and short chain polymers of PET. And there are also other types of enzymes also. We have PETase, we have METase, PETASE, we have PETase, we have METase, and all these other types of enzymes also, they are being used in handling plastics, especially PET plastics. And we also know this classification of plastics, right? When you look at bottles or when you look at plastic containers, there'll be like inside this recycle symbol, numberings will be given 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 7 it will be given, and these numbers are different. These numbers, they signify different things. For example, bottle number 1, if you take PET bottles and see inside the recycle symbol, there will be number 1. Number 1 denotes it is PET bottle. Number 2 denotes it is high density polyethylene. Number 3 denotes it is polyvinyl chloride. Number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and up to 7 are there. And all these numberings have been brought in order to make the recycling process very easy. And when it comes to recycling of plastics, there are few plastics that have to be recycled well, and a few plastics that have to be recycled with caution, and a few plastics that is better avoided. For example, we have 2, 4 and 5. That is, we have HDPE, LDPE, that is high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene, and polypropylene, which can be handled, which can be recycled very easily without much hassles or challenges. On the other hand, 3, 6 and 7. 3 is that polyvinyl chloride, 6 is polystyrene, and 7 is other grouping. 7 itself, other grouping only. So these are better avoided. One is okay, that is PET, polyethylene terephthalate is okay, but it is better avoided. But there is no wrong in recycling and all, but it is best avoided. And 3, 6 and 7, like they are very difficult to handle, difficult to recycle. So this is how the recycling pattern is also done. This is not official thing and all. This has been done by the Society of Plastic Recyclers. These numberings and all have been given by the Society of Plastic Recyclers. Manis mysteria, a species that was recently in use. We have Manis mysteria. We all know, we have come across in our due course of preparation, we would have come across something called as pangolins. There are different types of pangolins. We have Indian pangolins, we have Chinese pangolins, we have Philippine pangolins, we have Sunda pangolins. Yes, there are different types of pangolins, and until now, until the discovery of Manis mysteria, there were only 8 species of pangolins, 4 in Africa and 4 in Asia. 4 in Africa and 4 in Asia. And this Manis mysteria is the 9th species of pangolins. And we would have come across these pangolins. They look like anteaters. In fact, they are also a group of anteaters. They look like anteaters with scales. They have all these scales and all, and this is the only mammal that has scales. Scales and all we used to especially see in reptiles. Reptiles have scales. For example, snakes have scales. But a mammal that has scales is that of the pangolin, and these are also the most trafficked mammals, most trafficked animals in the world. Like some mythologies, some medical traditional medicine system consider them as valuable, consider them in dieting, they consider them as exotic meats, they consider them as medicine. And due to various reasons, there also has trophies. They are also working as trophies. And due to all these reasons, pangolins is one of the most trafficked animals across the globe. There are different types of pangolins also, and the recent addition to the list of pangolins, the ninth pangolin is the Anis mysteria. So yes, moving on to the next topic, the next species that have been taken up for discussion today. Pink bollworm is not a species per se. Yes, it is a species, but it was not recently discovered. This is something that has been a nightmare for cotton farmers in India. Not only in India, across the globe, it has been a nightmare for cotton farmers. What is this pink bollworm? Pink bollworm is nothing but a worm of a moth, a larvae that eats at cotton plants. Cotton production in India usually fell a lot, and after in the initial stages, that was 1990s and all, it fell a lot, and around the early 2000s and 2005 period and all, we boosted, almost tripled our cotton production. We Indians, we tripled our cotton production by using a lot of mechanisms. But after that, after around 2017-16, the cotton production, the cotton industry, it started to fall. Why did this happen? Because it is one of the major culprit in doing this. Because the pink bollworm, it is a pest. Initially, this is a pest that eats at cotton things and cotton balls. But what happened was these bollworms, this pink bollworms, alongside another type of bollworm called as the American bollworm, it started to eat the cotton produce and build itself into a moth. So the production value or production quantity of Indian cotton fell a lot, and for that only we created something known as BT cotton, that is Bacillus thuringiensis cotton, that was specifically targeted to handle these worms. But what happened was, even after BT, a few years it was nice, the production was high, but after a few years the production started to decline. Who's the reason? Again, it's the pink bollworm. So American bollworm and pink bollworm are the two major issues initially. So in order to handle this, the BT cotton was brought. Now what happened was, this BT cotton, it had resistance. It resisted both these worms, both American and pink bollworms. But what happened was, this American bollworm being polyphagous in the sense it eats a lot of other plants also. So it moved from cotton plants to other plants. So it did not affect the cotton, and the cotton yield was not affected a lot. But this pink bollworm, it is a monophagous larvae. Monophagous larvae in the sense it eats only cotton. It eats only cotton, and even having resistance, even having after the genetical modification, this pink bollworm started to eat the BT cotton. Yes, a few generations of these pink bollworm faced issues by eating the genetically modified cotton, but after over a period of time, evolution played its hand, and today, even BT cotton is being affected by pink bollworms, and we are using a lot of other innovative mechanisms such as mating disrupting disorders, mating disrupting mechanisms, such as we have PB knot and all these things we have. These are all projects that try to disrupt the mating process of pink bollworm. So these are the species that were up for discussion today. We discussed about coral reefs. We discussed a couple of species that were in use, and also we discussed about a new enzyme that has been brought in order to handle plastic pollution in India. Thank you.